And joining me now with a response to the president's alleged remarks, former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel, Secretary of Defense under President Obama and a combat veteran himself. Good morning, Secretary Hagel. You just heard those veterans I talked to here in Colorado. You are a veteran of Vietnam yourself. What's your reaction to the article?
Well, thanks, Martha, and I'm glad you're doing a segment on this story. Well, my reaction is if these comments are real, and I'll address that in a second, but if they're real, it's beneath the dignity of any commander-in-chief. Truly, they're despicable. Now, one of the points that one of the veterans made, which is a good point, these are anonymous sources, but let's go back and look at Mr. Trump's words himself coming out of his own mouth, starting in 2016 with what he said about John McCain and what he continued to say about McCain. How he degraded the service of Generals Mattis and McMaster and just recently General Kelly. The history of this president over the last 3 and 4 years is pretty clear. That 2018 experience when he did not go to the American military cemetery in France to recognize and honor the World War I Marines. Every other leader went. Every other leader drove. Leader of France, Germany, Canada. And you can go through a litany of past things that he said from his mouth, actions that he's taken, and it corroborates, really, the Goldberg article in The Atlantic.
And how much do you believe this will resonate with the military, really?
Well, I think it will resonate because what I've just said, he's on the record with saying things himself over the past few years. And that makes the credibility of this article and those anonymous comments more and more credible. Now, I said before, if you want to make an anonymous comment, and if you feel so strongly about that, that you make that comment to an established, well-respected reporter and magazine, then you ought to have the courage to go out and use your name, too. And I've always believed that. I think it's important now. If these guys who've said this or allegedly said it think it's that important for the future of this country, then they should show some courage and step forward as well.
I have to say, one of the veterans I talked to who didn't believe it because of the anonymous sources, I asked him if someone appeared who had provided information in that article and said it on the record in front of a camera, and he said, I'm not sure I would still believe it. We know President Trump has furiously denied this.
Well, I think there are those, and I understand this business, as you do pretty well, who will never believe it, no matter what is said, no matter who says it. And that's just the reality of politics and the freedom of expression. And we have a great country where you can believe what you want to believe. But facts are facts, Martha. And the reality of those facts are pretty clear. And I think it's a pretty clear indictment of this president's attitude toward our veterans. He'll use them. Of course, he's used them in the last 3.5 years as props in his actions and his statements. No president has ever done that. Use your veterans, use your active military as props. I mean, a couple of months ago, he sends an airborne division into Washington, camps them outside of Washington. The mayor didn't ask for that. The police chief didn't ask for that in Washington, D.C., but it's a continuation of the same actions and words we've seen from this president the last 3.5 years.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us this morning, Secretary Hagel. Good to see you.
Thanks, Martha.